Well, hello. Good evening, my friends. How are you guys doing today? Before I start and get into it, just want to do a little mic check, make sure that my uh, audio is good. If you can just do a quick one with me and say, I can hear you loud and clear, whatever, um, just to make sure. Because last time I think I was muted and I talked to myself for a few minutes. I just want to make sure we got sound. Okay, good. Well, hello. Okay. So I'm going to say hello to everybody I see here. I see Misha Girl. I see Woke Up 1984. Miss Potts, I think she's might come in later. Doc Terry, Rove, Rondi Potter, Debbie Gazzardo, Echoes of Clarity, and Bad Wolf. And I think that's what I see right now. Oh, Peaches, 81. Oh, Debbie, hi, Gazzardo. And we have Apple Bottom Jeans, Bunny Murphy, Absolutely 13, and Doc Doc. Well, hello, welcome. So I have a little special guest here that's going to jump on with me. So surprise. Hello, Rory.
Is everybody surprised?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah, this was a quick one. I just wanted to jump on because I read today that, it was going all over Twitter. It was trending on Idaho 4, I believe, that Ann Taylor has resigned from her position in Kootenai County, and what that means, and so on, and to stop the misinformation basically on and surround that. So just want to make sure we don't spread false information, but it is true. I'm going to read the document out. At least we don't have to read all of it, but at least the pertinent information on what's going on. And I think, Rory, you were as surprised as me, right, on this
This
one?
came, this came out of left field. Did not see this one coming either. So yeah.
Mm.
So let's all learn together on this one for sure.
Correct. So I don't know how many are familiar with this, if you read it already, but let's read out the part that is, as I say, pertinent to this. So it says, whereas Kootenai County employs second seat attorney as its chief deputy public defender. Now, a little bit further down, we learned that the second seat is going to be taken over by Logston.
Watson, yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to come in as chief deputy public defender after Ann Taylor. Whereas Kootenai County, Latah County second seat attorney, and Ann C. Taylor are parties to a capital criminal defense provider agreement regarding the prosecution of defendant, wherein Ann Taylor is designated as lead attorney for defendant and Logston is designated as second seat attorney. But that doesn't mean Ann Taylor is staying with Brian Koberger. She's not going anywhere. The same setup as before. So Logston is not going to take over as first seat. He's going to stay as second seat next to Ann. So she's still going to be first public defender for Brian Taylor. Basically, whereas the original agreement needs to be terminated and replaced with a new agreement due to Ann C. Taylor's resignation from the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office effective July 15, 2024. She's already leaving on Friday. And the creation of the Office of the State Public Defender and the enactment of Idaho Code 196008, which releases counties from any further financial or legal obligations to provide indigent defense, and requires the state of Idaho to assume the full financial and legal obligation to provide indigent public defense, meaning the state of Idaho is now going to employ Ancy Taylor because that's who she's going to be working under instead of the county, Kootenai County. I think I'm assuming that they still pay Loxton his fee, Kootenai County, and then Anne will get her fees paid from by the state. So that's really the biggest change in this. Any questions on that, Rory or audience?
Well, I mean, why now? And so that's always a question you have to ask: is why make this change now? And okay, so so also what I want to know is, so how come Latah County is not paying the salaries for this? How come Kootenai County
Uh,
pay for
well,
it?
Latah County isn't Kootenai County over because how big is Latah County? So I'm wondering if
I don't
that,
know. I don't know. Population wise, I don't think very big, but I don't
yeah,
know if it's more land
yeah.
or people. So I'm not sure.
That's a good question, and I might need to look that up. I cannot answer it. Always assume that because Latah County is so little, they fall under Kootenai County when it comes to justice system, uh, financial, all that.
Hmm.
But uh, probably can look that up and see how that is
Yeah,
in
that'd be great.
relation. That would be good information to have. But I just wanted to clarify that portion. And there is another thing before we go into, because I have a little video I wanted to share as well. I'm going to stop sharing that one. I have a video that I wanted to share where you can actually, this is in their public meeting. So, any questions from you guys in regards to this before I go in and share that? I don't see anything as of yet.
So she's her only case now is Coburger, correct? Like she has nothing else.
I mean, I'm assuming every case she's involved with,
Hmm.
she might be like, she has smaller cases, but I don't know if she worked herself out of those as time was progressing. This is probably not a thing that just happened overnight, right? So
Probably not.
it would have to be a
Yeah,
little bit of planning.
they're gonna have to transfer her cases to Logsdon and whoever else is up there as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting. Okay. Mm.
Hey, Deborah Ackland, best of me. Who else popped in? Lori. Hi, everybody. Okay. Yeah. So, no, I think it's been in the works. So she
Mhm.
might have worked herself out of smaller cases like she did was it Xana's mom?
Yeah, Kara.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Kara. Yeah. She worked herself out of that one. Yes. Dr. Terry Ann can reside from as a public defender and still defend Brian. Yes, because she's going to just work on a state level instead of
So
county
the
level.
next question I have is: does she have access to more resources now that she works for the state now?
That's a good question.
Mm.
That's a very good question. I mean, my first thought, to be quite honest with you,
Hmm.
was that she's now no longer under the thumbs of that
That's what I was
county,
thinking. Maybe
right?
she has a little more freedom now. Maybe she has a little more access to things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. So she just flexed herself a little bit further, in my opinion. And that is,
So this
she's
is her.
probably,
So is this her personal choice, or is this kind of like a mutual thing?
I think, if to be honest, I mean, this is how you flex upwards, right?
Well, that's why I'm thinking because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this because I know how they are very tactical. So if this is something, if this is her going, hey, I resign from the county level, I need to be state. That's
Yeah.
definitely a tactical. So that to me tells me that she needs more resources and will have access to more resources and maybe even more lawyers.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Indeed, indeed.
Mm.
Let me just put out. I'm gonna put the StreamYard out. I see Annie popped on. If you wanna come on here,
Yeah, you got 64 people show up out of the blue.
yeah,
Thanks. Thanks for coming,
let
guys.
me pin this. If anybody wants to jump on, you're more than welcome to. Let me make sure that pinned. Okay, perfect. Um, so yeah, this question here, evening, is it perhaps costing Kootenai too much money
That's kind of
for
what
the
my
fact
question.
that
Yep.
this is now full time
Hmm.
work with Koberger? I mean, I'm guessing Anne is full timing Koberger. Yes.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
as far as expenses, I don't think it came to that. To be honest with you, I could be wrong, but I don't think this is a financial situation. Well, maybe from her point of view, she's getting paid more. Who knows?
Hmm.
You would think because she's
Mhm.
getting into a better position. I don't know the official position. I cannot say that. Unfortunately, I wish I knew, but I don't know her official position
Mhm.
um, as working for the state as a public defender. So she might have a better position altogether. So that was
So
my
Deborah has a
thought
good.
on it.
So Deborah has a good question. If you want to take a
Mhm.
look at that, I like that.
Let's see here, Deborah.
Deborah Ackland.
Okay, you does. Oh, okay. Let's put that up. Does her transferring mean she's setting herself up to defend BK at a federal level? Well, I mean, she wouldn't change her job to do that, but I'm sure because I mean, she could do that under the county too, though. I'm guessing that wouldn't cause an issue to
Mm-hmm.
do it on a federal level, but who knows, Deborah? You might be right. I don't know. It would
And
be good.
it's an interesting question. I just don't
Hmm.
know if she would have to. I don't know. I mean, because she works for the state, so if you go
Yeah.
federal, to me that means you work for. Would you be based out of DC, or would you have to completely like? I don't know how that works. So
Well, I mean, no, I mean, she's now representing the whole state, right? As opposed to just that one area of
okay,
Kootenai
okay,
County.
hmm
So she's one step under federal, correct?
okay.
In
So
that sense, yeah,
mhm,
in that sense, because after the state, you have federal, which is the higher, right?
mhm,
Tier. So I'm thinking she's making uh, herself bigger.
mhm.
I mean, she might go federal. Who knows? After a while,
If it gets to that point, I mean, maybe,
after
but
this case is over, she might do that. If
mhm,
this is a good way for her career, it's a good jump start for her
yeah,
career as well. I'm sure she's has a good reputation to start
hmm
out with.
hmm
So yeah, I like these questions. Thank you.
yeah, it was a good one.
Thank you for yeah, absolutely. Let me hide that. Yeah. All right. Let me go ahead and share this little tidbit I found on let me see on X or whatever you want to call it, Twitter. And let's do this one here.
Sorry.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye.
Sorry, I was so excited.
That's all right. All right, item 13.
Can you all hear that? Can you hear that, Rory?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
And this is a replacement agreement with Latah County and our Public Defender's Office. Ms. Taylor, please.
Before you, you have a different contract. It's called replacement contract for Kootenai County to lend services for a fee of one of our public defenders. This is the current contract that includes both Jay and I, and this one would just be for Jay.
Okay. Questions, motion?
I move that we approve the replacement agreement with Latah County and the Public Defender's Office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, item 14.
Matari.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that so that it is legit. It's not a made up document or anything like that. Um, so I wanted to share that as well. I think it's important that we go to the bottom of these things and not just let things like this slide along,
mhm,
you know, because when I saw it trending, or, I saw it on the Idaho 4 on Twitter, I was like, oh, okay. Because some things come out and they're not true, but this is, in fact, as we just heard,
yep,
and herself, her voice in the background. And so this is receipts, exactly.
mhm,
Receipts, receipts, receipts.
mhm.
Receipts, timelines, fact. However it goes, like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
They got one in Salt Lake City now too.
Oh
Jeez.
my God, they got every town now, it
Are they
seems
are they
like.
polygamous?
No, well, no, but some of them are Mormons, and none of them have more than one wife, like husbands, more than one wife. So,
Okay.
well, who knows? Maybe they'll introduce somebody with two. That would be fun.
I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's coming. That's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So this is really what's been happening. There is nothing else. I haven't honestly checked. There's been no movement whatsoever on the. Let me see here. Let me stop sharing that. There's been no movement whatsoever on anything, and I'm very surprised. I don't know about you, Rory.
Mhm.
Are you surprised that we haven't heard back from the judge in regards to the, everything that was on that one hearing
Mhm.
before the last one?
No.
You're not surprised? I
Mm.
am. It's been over a month, and I'm very surprised. I think that's a little bit like over the top waiting this long, um, unless they just chose not to put it out and they got what
Possibility.
they were looking for.
I don't know what we're really going to see until the change of venue hearing on the 29th of August. So, I mean, what's 6 weeks away? So, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
by the beginning of August. I mean, with the date to turn in all discovery is what, September or something?
Yeah, but in order for
Mhm.
turning in the cast,
Mhm.
cast was supposed to be turned in March, end of March.
Mhm.
So that wasn't turned in, right?
Well, it's not a surprise.
No, but
Mhm.
there is no order on it from the judge,
Okay,
which
now
I'm
that's surprising.
exactly, and it's that hearing was over a month ago.
Okay, so
And
that is surprising.
exactly. So
Okay.
we know that the rest of the whatever was requested
Mhm.
um was due in September.
Mhm.
However, the cast report was due in March.
Very interesting.
So, yeah. Very interesting indeed
Mhm.
that there is no order from the judge on that at all.
It's just again, I just don't understand this case and how the prosecution and the judge are operating. I just don't understand. It's just like they keep saying we want to move this along. We don't want to do this again. We want to get this over with. But yet,
Mhm.
you just brought up the point. There's no order for the freaking cast. Like that was something was due in March. We're coming up in September now, so it's just like I don't know what game they're playing golf. I really don't. And this is
Mhm.
why we all stay up and pull our hair out over this is because what
Yeah.
is going on? Yeah.
Even this little play that
Mhm.
Anne is moving to from Kootenai to the state level,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That's like, is it part of? I'm so curious. Is it part of the whole defending Brian, or is it a combination of her flexing and moving up in the world of
It's
public
both.
defenders?
Both.
Yeah, I mean, does one relate to the other? Like, I would
Mhm.
so love to know. I would so love to know, and I'm hoping I was looking to see if I'm hoping Andrea Burkhart will bring it up in some form or fashion. Um, you know, that's what I'm looking forward to is her take on this, because obviously from a legal point of view or perspective, or somebody with experience would know better, and
Mhm.
she is a defense attorney, not a public defender.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
uh,
like her. She does good coverage. She's very
mhm,
it's the way that the mainstream media should be handling it. She's just very just analytical and just she tells
mhm.
you facts. So I like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would love to hear what she has to say on it as well. Yeah.
I do. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Or anybody, like any lawyer out there, I would love to see what they say about it. Hey, now Utah isn't that bad, is it? Idaho versus north of Salt Lake City. I'm just a drive away, Rory. I actually want to come visit. Yeah. I've never been to either Idaho or Utah, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never been to Utah.
yeah, so I couldn't tell you. I would love to go. I would love to go see those places, obviously.
I hear from what I see, like what is the Grand Tetons or something in Zion National Park are at
Mhm.
Utah. So that looks really
It's
cool.
beautiful. And I heard a lot of good things about Salt Lake City. Of course,
Mhm.
Mormonism is a big thing in that area. However, I don't even look at it from a religious perspective. It's
Okay.
a very cool place to
Mhm.
visit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Sue, no, we like Utah.
Yeah.
um, the balance of the cast will shift it from mildly exculpatory to totally. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole deal in not handing it over. And I suspected that they didn't want to hand it over fully, the whole data that is required, not just a screenshot, or that's silly whatever they gave over, because of Brian's alibi. So they want to build the cast report around his alibi, but Anne, of course, is a clever cookie, and she's not going to give them anything concrete until they give her what they need to, which
Exactly.
is the cast report. I mean,
Mhm.
Anne is not supposed to be the one to provide evidence. The state is the one that's supposed to provide evidence.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So there we go.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. My close friend lives in St. George, Utah. Gorgeous scenery right in the mountains. I can imagine. I can imagine. But to be honest with you, there's a lot of beautiful places in the States.
Oh yeah.
It is an amazing, amazing country to live in. I've been to a lot of states myself. I had the pleasure to move around a lot and see a lot, and it is everything amazes me. Everything, even Texas, as hot as it is amazing. So, yeah.
It's got some cool spots. Austin, I hear, is really cool. Dallas is cool. So yeah.
Hmm.
Too bad.
Oh yeah, not a bad place at all.
Like you
Not
said,
that I'm
the heat
out.
is unbearable though.
Yeah,
Like
it is.
another level out there, man.
It is. It's the humidity. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. As soon
For
as you
sure.
go further west,
Mhm.
that's why I like, even if it's hot,
Mhm.
but just not having humidity is such a relief, because when you have approximately the same heat with the humidity, it's just like, oh no, no.
Or it's too much.
Yeah, it's like raining, but not raining, right? It's just, oh, yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
muggy, muggy, muggy. So, yeah, that's the problem with the east side of this country. But it is still beautiful and very, very green.
Mhm.
Even when it's hot as hell, it's still green. And that, of course, is thanks to the humidity.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, so anything you want to talk about, Rory? Because I was going to make a quick one.
Yeah,
Just
no,
wanted to jump on, and really, honestly, I'm not going to go on for a long period of time. I just wanted to talk about this whole situation and what I think is happening. And, well, actually, the facts of what's happening, first of all, but also like what could be behind it, which we talked about a little bit, and you know the
Mhm.
steps made and how that can affect the case. And I'm hoping in a good way, obviously, because
I
if
so
if
too.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't think she would make a decision that would put her or Brian in a precarious position at this point. She's been
Hmm.
pretty tactical. She's been very smart about what she files, who she brings as witnesses, and all that stuff. So, in my opinion, and I'm sure Brian, she told Brian this, and Brian said, "Yeah, do what you got to do." So, to me, it's a
Hmm.
tactical move. I think it gives her more resources. That's the only thing that I can think of at the moment. Um, Somebody asked a good question though. Does this make her higher up than Bill Thompson? Was that Roe? I don't know. That's a good question. I thought they were already equals, but I don't know if she's like a little higher on the food chain now, or I'm not sure. That's a
Well,
good question.
yeah, she would be, because Bill is
She's
head
strictly in
of,
Utah County.
yeah, in Latah County, so that would be on a
Oh, yeah.
county level, right?
Now she has more power than him. Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's not so much about the power, but the
Mhm.
freedom to be a little bit
Yeah.
more, because obviously when you're so close and you work on that level in the same judicial system,
Mhm.
it is hard to be like, oh, I don't want to step on your toes kind of
Mhm.
situation, because they do work for the same place, right?
Right.
Ultimately.
Mhm.
So it is like, I'm guessing when she goes upstate level, it's gonna be a little bit different for her because she no longer works in the same sandbox, right?
Mhm.
So
That's a good way of putting it. She's out of the sandbox. There you go. So I
she's
think she
out
has
of the sandbox. Yeah,
a little more freedom to roam, to her make her own choice. Yeah, it's not so
correct.
much of a, I don't know if you want to call it a
Yeah,
magnifying glass or whatever you want to call it, but yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I wonder if AT&CO are preparing to present third-party culpability defense. I
Maybe.
wonder if the defense investigative team has found hard evidence that implicates others. Well, that's a good question, Annie. And Annie and I am gonna do a show on that. Annie promised me she would do a show with me on that, because in the hearing before the last one, um, which, oh my gosh, if you had been there, Rory, at that time, that would have been so cool. But the one that was really, really long, um, what's her name? Not not Anne. The other lady.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
can't even
sorry.
remember her name.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. Me and names are horrible. You learn that as we move along. I try to remember everybody's name, but I just can't. But I'll never forget a face. Um, she brought up that there is they're looking at something. Yeah. So anyway, Annie and I are going to do a show about that, the alternate, what third party culpability defense and stuff like that. So,
So are we talking about other suspects, like the three unidentified
well,
names, or what are we?
she actually mentions they're looking. Well, Annie, jump up here, damn it, because you know it better than I do. She put it in her mind. She put it in her brain so good because it's actually very easy to miss.
Mhm.
Super easy to miss what she said. So, Annie, jump on here for a minute.
So the lawyer's name is Massive.
Massive, yeah, Massive. Eliza Massive. Massive. I always called her Massive, but Massive. Yeah,
Massive.
yeah. Well, she's good. She's actually really, really good as well.
Sure.
And she's very meticulous, and she talks fast. So it's like she said it so fast. I think it went above a lot of people's heads in that.
Mhm.
Dang it! I can't go up and highlight that comment. Sorry. I was gonna
It's
highlight another one.
County? I thought it was Kootenai.
It's called Kootenaicounty, right?
This person says dog lover. It's Kootenaicounty.
Kootenaicounty. Okay,
live there.
sorry. Yeah, see, if you live there, it's like Moscow and Moscow, right?
Moscow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know. Here's Annie. Hello, my lady. Tell us, Annie. You know it better.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, what are you asking me again? Sorry. You're talking about Elisa, right?
Yes, massive.
Yeah, so I noticed the last time, I don't know if it was the last hearing, it was the one before, the longer one.
Hmm.
It was after Cy had testified? It was after Payne, after Cy.
Yeah, it was after everybody had testified. Correct.
She basically insisted to the judge that the state appears to be building or preparing an investigation against alternate suspects, but they're using Brian's case to hide it behind.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel
But
like if anybody would know it's her, she spends, almost 60% of her time in federal court. So I feel like if anybody knows what they're doing, it's her. And it would make sense. Anne's resigning now too.
Why do you think so?
what do you think about that, Annie?
I think it makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
Why do you think so? Though?
From what perspective?
I think that I think they're preparing. They're coming for everybody's ass. I'll put it bluntly.
Mhm.
I think they're coming for everybody's ass. Moscow Police Department, Pullman Police Department, Idaho State Police, the FBI. I think they're coming for all of them. I think they're preparing to expose all that was either illegally done, incorrectly done, exculpatory evidence that was ignored, DNA evidence that was ignored, the DNA that was possibly obtained illegally, all of these things.
Mhm. So you think it had to do with the case that she changed her position more than anything, basically?
Well, I think this case probably opened her eyes to the fact that as a public defender, her hands are kind of tied.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's only
Okay.
certain, and then now she's
That's what I think. Yep. Mm-hmm.
she put together an amazing team of investigators and co-counsel.
Mhm.
So, I wouldn't stay with the public defender's office either. If I was her, I would absolutely branch out with my team. This would be my main case. And, I'd be seeking to expose what actually happened.
Mhm. Going back to Masseth. How do you say her name? Masseth, right?
Massive. Massive.
Yeah, Masseth. Going back to her, she talks really fast and not as clear. So how many times did you have to hear that, like listen to that portion until you heard what she was saying? Did you catch it the first time?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
You did? Because I
Oh,
did.
yeah.
I mean, maybe subconsciously, but I really had to watch it a few times to hear it, to hear her actually say that, because it was like so mind-boggling. I was like, did she just say that? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know.
So yeah,
Right?
that's interesting. So yes,
No, I was
Annie and I.
actually listening to her quite intently because she doesn't speak often.
Mhm,
But when she does, she drops some little bombs here and there. And I
exactly.
think it's because she's not an Idaho attorney. Like she's on a rider, obviously, to represent Brian in Idaho, but I believe she's out of Oregon. And she spends like 60% of her time in federal court. So I'd want someone like her too, because she doesn't have to put up with the games, right? You want someone,
Mhm,
and she's like a firecracker. She's a little pit bull.
mhm. Exactly. So yeah, so we're preparing a show, Rory, me and Annie, to actually go over that again, her part. I know everybody's seen that hearing over and over again, but this time we're gonna actually bring out what Massett said, like
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
highlight that, because it is important what she said to this case
Mhm.
and what might be going on behind the scenes. So we'll dig it out,
Mm.
Annie. We'll dig it out as much
Yeah,
as
I'm
we can.
wondering too if they're preparing for dismissal charges,
That's what I
Maybe.
was expecting,
Maybe.
you
to
know?
be honest with
So
you.
like if what Masseth was saying is correct, and the
Mhm,
state all this time has been preparing an alternate case against alternate suspects, um, it would make sense that maybe now this is happening and maybe we'll see some dismissal charges coming. And she knew she had to get out of that office. Obviously, there's some kind of corruption, in my opinion, that she's very well aware of and wants no
mhm.
part of,
Yeah.
and doesn't
Correct.
want to be associated with.
That's a good point.
Correct.
Mhm.
Wade Bird, yes. He or she, I'm so sorry, I don't know if you're he or she. So would this be more than one investigation going on right now? From what Massett said, that's what we're led to believe. Correct.
Yeah, alternate suspects.
Correct. I mean, that could only mean that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And she says, who's running the site investigations? Well, according to her, it's Latah County.
Mm.
They're hiding it behind Koberger's case, basically.
Part of me thinks it's a federal case that they're hiding behind his, which is why they're not coughing up anything from the feds,
Hmm.
because it would show what they're doing with the alternates. Like if you are seeking alternate suspects, you are trying to build a case against alternate people.
Mhm.
Depending on who those people are, you for sure don't want them to know.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I don't think that if there are alternate suspects, it's going to be just any like Joe Blow.
Hmm.
It's definitely someone who should not, who definitely should not be a suspect in this case. That's
Yeah.
just right. People you would not ever think would be involved. I think that would be the alternates.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mikey says, could be right, Annie. I honestly just thought this was due to a venue change prep to get out of Latah County. I'm no lawyer though.
I thought that as well. For the
Yeah, because of how fat she was talking about that, but that's why we're gonna do a show. We're gonna break it down, like really slow her down if we need to
Mhm.
when she talks and what she says, and listen to what she says. So,
I'm just seeing a lot of parallels between like what happened in Reed, what's
mhm,
going on in Idaho, even looking in Delphi,
Mhm.
and then comparing it to what's going on in Idaho. I'm just seeing a lot of parallels. And I feel
yeah,
like, there's some big booms that are about to come out. The defense, I feel like, is ready to just kind of be done with it, put it out there, and people need to know. And I think that they're sick of hiding. They know that something is happening that has nothing to do with Brian.
Mhm.
And they know that they're using his case to hide what they're doing.
yeah. And that is messed up.
Yeah,
Completely messed up.
there's possibly an innocent man sitting on death row right now, potentially, and
Yeah.
that's
But
just
you don't keep, and if you know he's innocent and you've known for say the last year or 6 months or whatever,
Mhm.
you don't keep him locked up.
no, not at all.
Well, they must have known ever since the Cass report was made, to be honest with you, which is
Probably.
even before he was arrested.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
exactly.
even though they might have thought he was involved in some form or fashion, still like Jesus, that's crazy.
I feel
Anyway,
like between Jay Logsden, Elisa Massif, Vicka Barlow, Stephen Mercer, Cy Ray, Richard Batanti, when you think about all of the people on the defense side that have been, Gabby Vargas, all of
Mhm.
these people,
hmm
you know, my guess is they're going, I feel like it's just my opinion, they are likely going to be able to prove not only was he nowhere near this house
hmm
when they claim he was, I think they're going to be able to produce evidence of the people who actually were.
correct. Yeah. I just find it interesting that how this relates to her new position too. Like you
Yeah.
said, how it's, as I said, my first thought was that she's now able to get out of that sandbox with Bill and all those people, and the
Like
police
now the
because
gloves are off.
exactly.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see more of that, but I'm still surprised to this day that nothing has been put on to the Latah County websites as in regards to the cast reports that they requested back a
Mm,
month and a half ago. Still no order from the judge on that one.
yeah.
Even if they got it, wouldn't there be an order on that they
You
have to
know,
hand it over?
well, I think that's obviously the reason for Massive. You're going to want to bring in a co-counsel who spends
Mhm.
60% of their time in federal court, who knows exactly what they have to turn over, why they have to turn it over. She even explained how TUI is not a hindrance.
Mhm.
TUI is not something that prevents us from being able to find out things. It's just a process we have to go to. TUI doesn't give the FBI or anybody the right to just withhold things.
Mhm.
Certain things can be withheld, but I mean, in something like this where the feds seemingly did so much work, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's one of the very rare cases where the feds do not want the praise.
Mm.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Very
Randy,
odd.
thank you for jumping on, by the way. My moderator. Thank you.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rory.
yeah, I just want to ask Annie a question, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So in your humble opinion, how do you think the defense is going to attack how the DNA got there? And it's Brian Koberger has never denied that it's his, and it's obviously his. So what do you think their game plan is for that?
I would imagine it's going to be, something to do with its transfer DNA on a movable object.
Okay.
He
But
touched it. He touched it at some point at a show. He went to a convention. He went to some knife shop. He was in there the day before looking at them. Who knows, right? There could be a multitude of things. I'm
Mhm.
hoping it's not. Then again, I don't know, because I've always kind of figured him and Bethany know each other in some way, somehow. And I've wondered if maybe that's how it got on it, like some way through her. She's the one who placed it where it was found.
Well, I know their families both live in the Poconos. I think about 70 miles away from each other. I mean, they're not like neighbors, but they definitely are both from Pennsylvania. I don't know if they ever met at school. I don't know if they ever met their family. Like, we don't know.
Who?
The Kobergers and the Funks.
Mhm.
So they both live in the Poconos. That's where they're from. But again, so Bethany's 7 years younger, or 70. So they wouldn't have met in school or anything like that. So I don't know.
Well, no, there was part of me that thought that maybe because he was a TA at WSU and obviously can't date students there, he would be trying to date students at U of I and, maybe somehow hooked up with Bethany.
Possibly. So was Bethany at that pool party at all? Do we know this?
No idea.
Well, we don't know if she wasn't.
Yeah,
We
we
don't know if,
we don't know
yeah,
if she
because
did,
I think from what we heard, Howard Bloom in his article that we read, all of us, or most of us read, he mentions that he said he asked the students, or a lot of students that went to the pool party, they
Mhm.
couldn't confirm or deny that anybody from that house was there.
Right.
So
Okay.
take it for that, basically.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means,
I
correct.
thought it was kind of funny. They did say he got 2 girls' numbers
Which, yeah,
when he
that's
was there.
been
And
specified.
I
as well, that no girl has said. That's funny how none of the girls have like stopped. You probably don't want to be associated with that, but no girl has said, "Yeah, he got my number." So that's weird.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out whose numbers those were. Wouldn't it be interesting if it's Dylan and Bethany?
That'd be extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, people are like, oh, there's no connection, no connection. Well, Ann Taylor said that there is no connection to the victims. She didn't say anything about the survivors.
Very true. That was
And speaking of Bitonti, um, Twiz was on here. Were you on here? And the person that Anne talks to, every time there's a hearing, you see her turn around and there's a fellow sitting behind her. It's Bitonti, which is very interesting. Like, she runs everything by him, if you notice, everything.
Well, Batanti is who she first brought on way back in the beginning. And when they executed the search warrant on Brian's apartment in Washington, once, ISP and Blaker and all of them were officially done with the apartment and it was turned over to the defense, Richard Batanti was there with her. And the defense went in and collected what ISP and Blaker left behind, things that they did not take into evidence. And in one of them was the smart TV, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I have no idea what evidentiary value his smart TV would hold that Richard Batanti would want, because he's a forensic investigator.
Well, you can actually use, I believe there is an internal hard drive on every smart television, so you can connect your computer, everything to the TV these days. And
Well, see, I was wondering, did he leave like an SD card or something in the back of the TV for his defense?
possible.
Like, I'm being dead serious. Did he know they were coming?
yeah, it's possible.
Some kind of proof he's innocent
Correct.
somewhere.
And let's say he was playing video games at one point in time during, so all that can, of course, play in.
Or like if Bethany was at his apartment and logged into her Spotify or something through his TV.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is obviously, like, who cares about a smart TV? You can buy a new one for $200 or $100, right? There must have been something else, unless it was like $1,000 TV, and the guy ain't rich, right? But
Well, that's
still,
what I mean.
holding on.
Fancy laptop.
Yeah, holding on to a television is not one of the biggest things you think about when you're in jail, right? So that's the last
And
thing
even
you
the
care about.
fancy laptop thing got me.
Yeah,
That's what Don Daniels is telling Blaker, that the apartment is sparse, but there's a fancy laptop on the counter.
Yeah.
Blaker gets, all excited about it. It doesn't make sense to me that he's going to leave a fancy laptop, especially considering knowing what we know that he was doing for his education. Like when my daughter was in design school, a lot of their design stuff, they had to have these like huge 4 or 5 terabit external hard drives because of all of the digital data for the, architecture design and all of that stuff that she was doing. And it's just kind of wild to me. I know how much we spent to pay for those things. Do you understand what I'm saying? For college for her. Yeah. And it always blew my mind that was left behind, that he left this laptop behind. The only thing I could think of is it must have belonged to the actual school.
Yeah,
not,
that was my first thought. Is that's the school, his work laptop, correct?
like a
But
school
now,
issue.
yeah, but there was a desk. There was a desktop computer. Like that
Mm.
might have been his, but he knew he was coming back. So you bring your laptop, but if you have a desktop computer as well, you don't bring that. You don't care about it.
Yeah.
Was my thought on it. But yeah, hi Tommy. Good to see you. There's a link if you want to jump on to.
It was
There's
just
a
wild to
question
me
here.
too. They found one single hair under the mouse pad
Oh, what? Sorry.
in the thing, in the you know, the list of things they found that they collected from his apartment before they sealed everything. It was like the one single hair under the mouse pad.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
exactly. But of course, that didn't turn out to be anything.
No, yeah, there's nothing. They have nothing.
One single here. Yeah, yeah. So
Just
anyway,
check your private chat there real quick, off.
yeah. There's a question too. It says, panel, who do you think will testify in who will be testifying in court? And do you think exceptions will be made for some just to Zoom?
Questions.
Yeah. Also, do you think Brian will take the stand? Who's going to testify in court? Everybody.
They let him testify.
Everybody. Like all the people that were in the house that morning, obviously, that were called.
Hunter Johnson's going to have to testify. Yep.
Mhm. And a lot of friends.
Literally everybody on body cam.
Yep.
Yeah, probably. And then, of course, everybody that was texted to, even though they didn't show up, probably. Who else? All
the
the police officers, the
Oh.
FBI agents, everybody that was involved. That's a given.
For
So
sure. She's specifically going to be calling, I believe, Tolson, Vargas, and Gunnarsson. For
yeah,
sure. Because those
from
are
the
the three she
defense,
specifically requested the training records on.
from the defense portion, yeah, but she probably has more than those people. Like I can
Yeah.
imagine she has a lineup of like experts that we don't even know about, which is cool.
Yeah, and
So
those three officers that she was requesting the training records for, they were specifically involved with like being present at the autopsies.
yeah, correct,
Yeah.
correct. And of course the coroner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her testimony is going to be extremely important.
Correct. And do we think that there will be exceptions for some to just Zoom?
Probably.
Yeah,
Especially out of state.
depends on their circumstances. I'm
Out of
thinking.
state.
Hey, Toes, how are you?
think it
I saw um, Clue. I think you're here as well. Hi. Hello to everybody who jumped on. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on circumstances.
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to allow, I mean, they're probably honestly, as far as showing their testimonies, is maybe they'll not allow, or maybe they won't show the surviving roommates, but we'll be able to hear them. I can imagine that going down.
That's for you. Yeah.
Now, to let them do Zoom, I don't think so. This is too big for that.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
Well, see,
unless,
I think we got to look at it as like in Reed, right? They made Proctor read his texts, no matter how horrible they were. They were his
Mhm.
words, and he had to say them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, any statements that Bethany or Dylan made to law enforcement that were either recorded, written down, visually, audibly, whatever,
Mhm.
they're going to have to repeat those things whether they like them or not. Their own text messages, should they have to be read, are going to have to be read, and they're going to be the ones who have to read them.
Yeah. Correct.
Because that was
And
one of the things Richard Batanti said, was that no one can testify or give testimony for her.
Correct.
Very special circumstances that, and I think he specifically put that in there because some officers are allowed to testify on behalf of a witness.
Mhm.
Okay.
Are allowed to, and I think he put that in there, meaning like, don't even think for a second you're going to be calling officers to give witness statements because we plan on getting her. we will be talking to her.
Well, it's the same with Dylan because she's the one that gives the description of whoever was there. So
Yeah.
she
Do you
can
notice?
they
Like the
they can't.
defense, the
Sorry?
defense is concerned about Dylan.
Well, I'm
The,
sure.
the defense is not even notice that there's nothing.
No,
Nothing.
because they know it's bullshit. But it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, none of the two girls can really get out of going on that stand. You know,
Yeah.
No,
as it
it's
is.
common.
Yeah.
They can't get out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the only
Uh,
way that one of them could get out of it is if there is evidence that one of them was also victimized in some way while this occurred and they were not involved.
hmm
Right. So now I look at it in the sense that as much as the defense themselves have implicated Bethany on more than one occasion, she has been implicated. I know everybody thinks, you know, that she was like first floor. She lived on the first floor. I'm telling you, there was a part of me, it's just my opinion. But I believe part of the exculpatory evidence why she is an exculpatory material witness is because she was actually on the third floor in Kaylee's old room. I think she took over Kaylee's room and was on the third floor when this happened.
hmm
Or that would
And I think that's how Murphy ended up in her room.
hmm
that would change everything. Yeah.
Oh, we got Tommy.
That would change everything. That's funny because I was going to ask you what your thoughts on were the possible exculpatory evidence that Bethany has. And Tommy and I think that that Bethany wasn't there. I mean, it's either Bethany wasn't there or Dylan definitely wasn't there. That's just our opinion, of course. But I mean,
But then how would that be exculpatory for Brian?
because then that if Dylan's not there, then where's the PCA shit come from?
Right, but they're not mentioning Dylan. The defense is only concerned with Bethany.
With
Well,
Bethany, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So just a thought, but we're wondering if that's the exculpatory evidence that they both weren't there, or she knows that Dylan wasn't there.
I think that it's a list of things that implicate her as the exculpatory material witness. She's not just an exculpatory witness, she's a material witness to the crime.
Okay, well then, yeah. She saw her or knows something, but that third floor is very interesting though. That's an interesting theory.
I do believe
Who's-
she was living on the third floor. I think she's the person who took over Kaylee's room.
Possible.
And I think that's why Kaylee would have been sleeping in Maddie's room because she no longer had a room there.
Well,
Well, then that means that Dylan would have been sleeping on the third floor.
So then that means Dylan, yeah. Third, yep.
That means
No.
Dylan was right there, and that means she's lying still.
Dylan would still be in her room on the second floor.
Yeah, she's
Why would she be up on the third floor?
So then that means there's nobody on that first floor. That first floor is empty. Is that what you think?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's possible.
100%. Yeah. I think
I'm
the
not-
first floor was totally empty. I think that Xana and Ethan were still living in the second floor.
Okay.
I think that they've already said it repeatedly. Kaylee had been gone for like a couple of months at that point, not just a couple of weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
She had been gone for a couple of
that's what I'm
months
saying.
back at her parents. So I doubt for a second Bethany is just going to stay on the first floor in the basement when there's this big ass beautiful room with this beautiful balcony totally fucking empty upstairs.
Yeah. Well, you're right.
it could be, you could be right. However, that night when this went down, I really doubt that Dylan was up in that room. And here's the reason why. You remember the picture of that room? Somebody was in that bed and the bed sheets were just like turned over.
Well, that was Kaylee's old room. That's the one that
Correct.
they were trying to say was Kaylee's room.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the room that she supposedly took over on the third floor, correct? Is what you're
I
saying.
think that's the room Bethany was in, not Kaylee.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying from that night
Hmm.
is
There
why
might
I'm
have been
thinking
there.
that it might have been like Kaylee's back and she might have gone into her old room because of course she's got the dog and everything and the dog is used to that room and she might still have her stuff in there. I don't know, but it looked like it when they took everything out. And according to Kaylee's dad, I think her stuff was still there, or her furniture, this and that.
Well, see, that's the thing. I actually don't believe anything that her dad says. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Sorry if that offends
I have a
anybody.
tough time with it too, so don't worry. Yeah.
I basically,
I
from the
don't know.
beginning, have been under the impression everybody's lying, and that's how I treat all of them every time they say something. I don't know if that's a good way to
So,
look at it, but I just don't. I take everything they say with a grain of salt.
Mm.
what do you think about Ann Taylor resigning?
Well, we were discussing that earlier. So
Mhm.
my biggest thought is she's now out of that Kootenai County.
Kootenai now. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's actually you say it Kootenai County. She's out of that. Basically, she opened up the door to bigger investigation, bigger meaning that
Mhm.
she no longer works for the same people that Bill Thompson and the defense team is
No,
working
Right.
she
for.
Well,
gives a little more freedom, a little more access to
well,
resources.
she's working. Yeah, she was working for the county, right? But she
Yeah.
resigned from. But how was it worded? It was worded that she resigned from the
So
public defender, correct?
yeah, so she resigned,
Correct.
and the second
She's taking Bill
chair.
Thompson's. She's going to be taking Bill Thompson's place.
That's fine.
No. She's
Watch.
going into the state. She's bigger. She's bigger than that, Tommy, than Bill Thompson.
So going is that
Um,
what it's going to work for the state?
yeah,
She's
she's
gonna
going
go
to
to the
work.
attorney
Yes,
general's office, right?
I haven't
she's
read
going.
it, so I don't know where.
Yeah, no, she's going to the state, so she's going to be working. That's all we know. That's all that's been put out there is she's going to work for the state. So the state is going to pay her,
That
you
makes
know.
it even more interesting.
So basically, second chair, which was, they just announced that
What
uh,
side of the state, though? You know, I mean, what do you the state? What are you talking about?
like she's a public defender, but now
Mhm.
under the umbrella of the state as opposed to Kootenai County. So she stepped up, she leveled up
Oh,
in a position.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's getting rid of the county, is what she's doing.
Well, yeah. So she's technically higher up than Bill Thompson, because Bill Thompson is like over the what is it
Well,
called?
I don't even blame her for that one, for that move at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So no, she's, and then Loxton is taking over her position. Second chair, it's stated in that document. Second chair is taken over as the head of public defender's
Yeah,
office.
but she's going to finish out Brian's case, correct?
She is absolutely.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
thing is Loxton is still going to get paid from Kootenai County, and Ann Taylor is now going to get paid via the state to finish
Which
out.
I'm sure is a bigger paycheck. I'm sure.
I am. Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it might not be that much of a difference, but Annie, your take on this
Mhm.
was very interesting. If you want to repeat that, we have new
Who's
people in
that?
here. Annie Potts.
Any pots?
Oh, okay, Annie. Yeah, give me your take on this girl.
What? Why she's resigning?
No, yeah, why she's resigning, and
What that means
what that means. Yeah,
for the
what
case.
what does that do to the case?
I think it means that A, she's not handcuffed to specific things. I also think this is like multifaceted. There's multiple reasons why she would be doing this. Part of me thinks that she's aware of a certain level of corruption amongst certain individuals, and she wants no part of it. So she's going to disassociate, and kind of step away from that. But I also think that the team that she's put together is for a specific purpose, to where they're going to be able to defend him against the illegal. They're going to be able to show not only the illegal things that were done, but the things that were ignored that actually showed he was not involved whatsoever.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that I think they're preparing to expose a lot.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much, because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing things are going to be going down pretty soon, and this just kind of fits that mold of what's going down.
And Annie and I
Mhm.
are getting ready to do a show on what really was told by Massett in the last hearing that she appeared in. Not the last, the one before that, the one that was a month and a half ago, and the that they're hiding another investigation behind Brian Koberger's case because she actually
Yeah,
said
there's three.
so. We're
Yeah,
getting
there's three.
ready to do a show on that with that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's three of them going on, and then, I don't know if I want to do a show on it, but because then I would have to expose people. But yeah, there's. What I'm hearing is that there's three different investigation going on, and one is international.
Hmm.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, one is international, and they all involve lettered agencies, but one is not who you would expect.
Hmm. Well, I mean, we're not going to call anybody out, obviously, but the show
Yeah,
we're
I'm not
running
calling anybody.
mostly just what did she say in that hearing because she clearly said what she said, Massett, yeah, right? So we want to
Mhm.
go back, we want to hear what did she say and what is she meaning by that because I think it was overlooked and like Mike here, he thought so too. He was like me and Rory was both of us I think were thinking like is she talking about the venue change here? Is
Yeah.
that but because that's what she was talking about venue change. She talked about a lot of things. But no, 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 no,
Right.
no. She was talking about, they're hiding something behind Brian's case. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And from what I hear, Brian is doing very well.
Bro, and I saw him a couple weeks ago.
Doing
He
very
looks,
well.
he looks good. He looks fine. He looks
Yeah,
pretty good. So,
he's doing really, really well.
yeah, I think he knows.
That's
Hopefully, the
all.
light.
That's all I can say.
Hopefully, he
That's
sees the
all I
light at
can
the end
say.
of the tunnel, and hopefully, a resolution's coming one way or another.
Mhm,
So, yeah.
mhm.
Oh, not the tunnel. No.
Remember the freaking tunnel from last time?
Hey, that one from that show I read the other day, and Bubbly ran it. That was pretty amazing. I didn't realize that was there at all.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Is it a new one? I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean,
crazy.
you never know with this anymore, to be quite honest with you, though.
You're
I
right.
don't know about the
Yeah.
tunnel theory, but there is a clear little underground little walkway there,
Oh, yeah.
because
You're
that
right.
girl showed
Right.
it's
I
very
didn't
hidden.
know it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff they don't tell you.
Yeah. But we're
Right.
gonna
Right. And that's
we're
probably
gonna
why they
stick
were chasing you away that day when I was on the phone with you.
Yeah.
Rory.
yeah.
I was on the phone with Rory. And somebody comes up chasing him up.
But no, we're sticking to what came out in hearings and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's what we'll be focused on at
Mhm.
least for now.
Right.
And
Smart.
until we
Yeah.
know more, until we get
I know your style, Golf. I know your style.
It's not just the style, it's just trying to stick to the only reason I did this show is because when you hear rumblings of something, you want to get to the bottom. Is it true or is it not? So
Right.
I
Well, yeah.
played-
Right. Yeah.
I played the little clip from the public hearing where we clearly hear Anne speak about resigning and just about
Yeah, I
it's
haven't heard
more
nothing
actually
yet,
she's
so I
talking
come
more
in
about
blind.
the financial implications because obviously
Right.
they approved not having to pay her anymore, but now they're gonna pay Loxton as the main public defender. So yeah.
Right.
Anyway, and whoever takes over Loxton's
Well, that's it.
place, I don't know.
That's good for her.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Longston should be the
That's good
public
for her.
defender, the constitutionalist.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and he is. I mean, he's stepping in, so
It's the
he was
timing
second
that makes
chair.
me.
Yeah. Now, under the Koberger case, he's still second chair to Anne.
Mhm.
Right.
They clarified that part that he's still second chair, even though he's now first chair, meaning he's head of the public defender's office of Kootenai County.
But not in that case, right? Not in
But
the
in that
Koberger
case,
case.
so
Correct.
they're keeping on as they've been keeping on till now.
Going, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're all
somebody-
getting a raise except for Bill.
Well, Bill is
He's
still
retiring. He's
retiring,
retiring,
so
so yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah. I'm surprised we still see him around.
I am
So-
too. I just have to let you guys. So when I actually saw him walk into the courtroom a couple weeks ago, I can't tell you how quick he didn't look at anybody. He looked straight ahead and just sat in his seat. And he didn't move. Like, he just did not move, and it's really weird. I've never
He's
seen.
probably sleeping.
No, he's just
Maybe
like
he's pulling a Biden.
the whole fucking time, and I'm just like, "You all right, bro?" Like, I'm just like, I'm waiting for Ann to go over. Bill, Bill,
Take a stick and poke him.
like, he's a
Poke
fucking
him,
zombie.
poke him. Yeah. Poke him away.
I mean, I did not like his body language. I didn't like his demeanor. He just I don't know. It's just my opinion. It's just what I saw, what I felt. But I mean, but like, I swear, dude, when Brian walked in and like I sat right there, you know, the door where he comes out of, all that, I was right there. And Brian just kind of just saunters in. He sits in his chair like a fucking gentleman and just doesn't move. And just like there's a different vibe from the defense to the prosecution by far. And it all changed when Cy-Ray and that hearing, when the Payne and Mary and Cy-Ray, it all changed. It all changed right there. So
I think Brian is coming for blood, to be honest with you. I think
good.
What's that, Anna?
like him, who's never ever in his life testified for the defense.
So yeah, exactly. That was a turning point for me too. When Cy-Ray's only did prosecution cases, and then all of a sudden,
But he's going to go after. He's going to show whatever it is. He isn't going to, you know. And I think that's why he took this case, is because one thing he hates is corruption.
Well, you know, I've always been wondering too. I've kind of wondered if it was like actually Brian who found Cy, considering what Brian was studying and what he was already doing.
Possibly.
I would imagine Brian would know about Cy before Ann or Jay would. He would know who Cy is.
Yeah.
He told Ann to get Cy, and right there, that shows me even more that he's innocent. Why would you say, go get the best in the business if you're guilty?
Yeah, and also when Cy-Ray said that, what he's seen so far is exculpatory, I don't think he would say that unless he's actually seen the real cast report. And I'm saying that because he does have access in a way that we don't,
we can't. We don't.
He worked with AT&T and for AT&T for many, many years.
Mhm.
So I bet you he already had that when he looked at this. So he wouldn't put himself out there to that extent unless he really already has it. He's just curious if they're gonna actually hand it over.
Well, that's why he said too, I'm open to you, to having my mind change should I see something. But everything that's been produced so far is right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're just like trying to weave in the cast report around Brian's alibi, but they're not gonna give that over because that's not how this works. They were supposed to give that cast report over at the end of March, and they still haven't. And that's why I'm surprised that the judge hasn't gone in and set an order for that.
Right. Well, I think he's not going to. That's what I'm saying. So that the whole cast thing is, that's where Cy comes in. And when you think about it, there is no other expert. He's the expert that the experts go to. He's the one who trains everybody.
Correct.
So the state already knows that there is no one they have that is going to be able to go up against him.
No, not on that level.
Expertise level.
Correct.
So
even on
if
an
the state,
international level, nobody could do it. So
well, exactly right. There isn't anyone else other than him.
Yeah.
Now, the way that I look at it too is when someone like him takes your case, he takes it pro bono. He isn't being paid a dime. He's gone through it and he recognized something is wrong. And when you go back and, you listen to him, he's talked about how this is something he was able to solve a case that had been cold for years within 4 minutes of looking at some cell phone records. And he could tell just by the data, there was something off. And sure enough, so when you're bringing in someone like him, and then you have Elisa saying, oh, you know, alternate case, alternate suspect, they're hiding it behind our case. If the feds are involved in some kind of an alternate case with alternate suspects, they are not going to cough up certain things because those certain things actually implicate the people they're trying to go after.
Correct.
So they're gonna hide it.
Mm-hmm. So
Do you get
another
what
thing
I'm trying to say?
I do, absolutely. Another thing we were discussing was, of course, there's a lot of things that go on that we don't see. And that's why we love having Rory now going to these hearings as well as Twiz, where you can pay attention. Twiz told us that every time Anne asks a question, finishes when she's talking, she always says, "One moment, please," and she turns around and she turns around. And who does she talk to? Well, she talks to Bitonti. So we know that Bitonti is a hell of an investigator because she runs everything by him. Everything. Did I miss anything? Is there, anything I can bring up right now? Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure, she's consulting with him. So she's got a heck of a team put together on this case. Heck of a team.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify too. I'm not saying for sure Brian is the one who got Cy. I was just saying that it would make sense. He would know about Cy before Anne or somebody else would, considering Brian's background and education that he was studying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if it came from him or if it's something that Anne, I mean,
maybe coming from her investigator. We don't know, but
we don't know. Yes, from her investigator. Correct. All I know is, yes, it is pro bono. Cy is doing this.
Yep.
And of course, for Cy's part, he is making a name for himself by doing this as well. So obviously makes sense for him to do this. Absolutely. But
and it's wild too. Did you guys know that he's also happens to be a blood spatter expert as well?
Oh, really? Wow. No, I had no idea.
Really?
Crazy.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were talking about that one night. We were talking about that. Wouldn't that be funny if he was a blood spatter expert for the prosecution?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, this is what I mean.
That'd be crazy.
When they brought on Cy, that's when it was also mentioned at that same hearing. I believe it was the state who was talking about the new blood spatter expert. So it's my understanding, like when Cy came onto the scene in this case, all of a sudden the state is like, fuck, we need a new blood spatter expert. They didn't even have any cross-examination for Cy whatsoever.
No.
Because what are you going to say, right?
Like bumps on a log.
No, I mean, if they had any questions, if they had any questions, they would have had to defend everything they did. So it was better not to bring it up, So
I'm just saying, if you have someone like him looking at your case, not only does he happen to be a blood spatter expert, but he's yourself. I'm sorry, but I have no doubt that if has seen any of the crimes,
I'm very interested. I'm very interested in that too, Annie. And one of the reasons why is what Justice for KMXE said. Zan and Ethan were killed not in the house. Because I would like to know how that blood splatter is in that room. I really want to know how that blood splatter is in that room. I think that's going to show a lot in itself, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be how. I think there's a lot to. I'm sure there's a lot they can determine from blood splatter, meaning like what arms were used, like with left-handed, right-handed.
What angle?
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Was it just tossed? Was it just tossed like this, or was it actually from? Right.
Well, yeah, because there's a difference between the way it's going to splatter, like if it's just dripping out of your nose onto your shoe, as opposed to like high velocity splatter that's from a gunshot wound or a stab wound.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it'll get so crazy. They'll show you like, okay, so this person snuck up from them from behind and then did this, and then the blood went this way. Like they'll literally have like So how they do in a crime scene, so it's like they'll put ropes or strings to it to like this is the angle that it would project it out at. Like it'll get crazy. They'll show all that in court. I've been thinking, I don't even know if I want to go to the trial. If I have to go see all like the autopsy photos and all that, it's gonna be nuts.
Well, I don't know if you guys get to see that in the
I hope not,
audience.
'cause I don't want to see that.
I think that they sort of turned that off
Good.
because autopsy pictures is only for. Oh, we lost Danny.
the
Autopsy
family.
pictures is only for the jury, really.
Good. Yeah, I don't want to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so they turned that off. We definitely watching this.
They
if we
turned what off, Cole?
They do.
They turned
the
what off?
autopsy. The autopsies.
No, I mean if I go to the actual
do they?
hearing,
Oh.
sitting in the
Yeah.
courtroom,
Yeah, they won't show it on the screen,
Okay.
basically.
No, but they'll
They
I
have
wouldn't
been
think they would.
cases where they caught it, sort of, that the audience caught some pictures that were brutal. And if I'm not mistaken, it was in the Murdoch case, but I could be wrong. I think that's when they sort of didn't. Somebody caught it, and then they chose to. Oh, oopsie! Yeah, you always do that, Annie. She clicks on the wrong button, and she.
Axes or
Right.
something.
Yeah. Annie, the link is pinned. Is it still pinned? Yeah, it's still pinned. It's still pinned to the top to come up here. Sorry about that. What were you talking about? Oh yeah. The autopsy. Yeah. So you don't have to
Pulling
worry
a
about
Jude.
that. You don't have to worry about seeing that.
Good.
And I think they do a warning in the beginning too. Like that. That's what's going to happen. So they warn people who doesn't like, maybe the parents or whatever, if they don't want to see it. So it's not just
That's crazy.
gonna come. Yeah, Miss Potts, jump back on. Let me know if you don't have the link. I know Rory has to leave here in a few minutes, but I want to talk to her a little bit more about the television that they picked up. Oh, there she is. Hold on, device not connected. There we go.
What television are you talking
And
about?
she's back. And she's back. No, Annie talked about, we were talking about the television from Brian's apartment.
Where am I
Yeah.
having an SD card in the back? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if Tommy was here for that.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah. Annie, you want to talk about that again?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I missed that. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me.
The television in Brian's apartments that Anne came and picked up, that wasn't even
It was
it
just something that-
mentioned
yeah.
in
Well,
what he had in his apartment.
yes. So before they gagged everything,
Mhm.
when they initially raided it, we got to see like the reports of what was collected, right? So we
Correct.
know that they tested like a red substance on the pizza cutter. They tested what they thought was blood on an uncased pillow, right? We got to see all of that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they left behind that they did not take was the smart TV.
Yeah,
So-
but was that even mentioned
Yes,
in any
it was mentioned-
documentation?
Yeah, it's mentioned by the defense. So this is before everything got sealed up and gagged. It was in a filing that they had went back on January 7th. She
That
went back.
part, yeah, that part. But was it ever brought up on that list of what they took out of that apartment?
Yes, that's what she
Okay.
was describing
No,
for
but
the
I know
January
that one.
7th
I know that
return
one.
to the department. Yeah.
But in the police, when they went into his apartment, they did a list of things that they took,
Yeah,
right?
they didn't the TV.
But was the TV even listed in there at all? Nothing, right? Nothing about the TV.
Yeah, no, they took the TV behind. They took
Yes.
they did not take the smart TV, but they took the Fire Stick that was connected to the TV. They took
Yeah.
the fancy laptop. They took books, they took receipts, they took a dish towel, they took an uncased pillow, they took lots of things from his apartment, papers, books.
They also, and I think they also took the desktop computer because there was a tower.
There was a tower,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they took a tower. So,
But
yeah.
it said old tower.
Sorry.
It said old tower
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
list.
yeah. So that was
So
probably
we
his
weren't
like
even sure if
backup
it was
computer.
actually working.
Correct.
Hmm.
And then so about that television. So the only time we heard about that television was, of course, when Anne filed. What was that? What was the filing?
It was a supplement. I believe it was a supplemental request for discovery after they had went back on January 7th with
Okay.
Batanti to Brian's apartment.
Okay. And in that is where it was mentioned and the circumstances of how they obtained it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And it was very interesting how they obtained it as well, because they had to go back 2 times or something like that,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, to even like the first time they had to go in, they went in, they didn't take the television, but they went and then they filed to take it out, and then they
Yeah.
met. I can't remember the doc. I mean, I remember it vaguely, but then they went back and met which detective, which
It was Blaker and Tolson from ISP.
okay, and they were there, but they never mentioned anything about the television at all whatsoever in any other documentation.
Tolbert, that was his name, not
Okay,
Tolson. It's Detective Tolbert from ISP
okay,
because he's the one who was at the house as well. Detective Tolbert is the person from ISP that was at the King Road crime scene prior to Payne and Blaker arriving.
hmm but they never filed anything of them giving it the television over.
No, no.
Correct.
See, so when the ISP and Blakers served the search warrant with Don Daniels, at that point they had it. They had the apartment until they turned it over to the defense. They didn't turn it over till they said they were done with it.
hmm
When they turned it over, the defense went in and basically took everything that ISP and Blaker didn't.
Yeah. I'm
And
just
one of their things was his television, the smart TV.
correct. But I'm just asking, like, then ISP never turned around and said, okay, this is what they came in and took. They didn't file anything like that.
Mm-mm,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, if
That's
they
what
did, it might have been filed under seal and we never got to see it. I have no idea.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Just wanted to clarify it was only in Anne's filing that we saw that.
It just always bugged me. What would a defense forensic investigator do? Like, what evidentiary value would Richard Batanti find in Brian's smart TV?
hmm
It
That's a
always
very good question. Very
it
good.
always bothered me.
Yeah.
Well, they would maybe look for something what he's watching or if what he's like. Can you can go on the internet on smart TVs, right? So internet search, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, even if they took the Fire Stick, would there still be some kind of data stored in the television that would show, even say he was at home watching something on Hulu until 2:48 a.m. or do you get what I'm saying? Or like somebody else logged into their Hulu account or their Spotify on his TV.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
or he was looking up like, okay, the moon and the sun and that night, and he's like, and he was looking up over White Park, and you never. I'm just saying, like the TV, if it's a smart TV, it has yes, you can
It
connect.
has data on it. It has data
Yeah,
on it.
it does have an internal hard drive too, so it does store things, obviously.
Well,
So
now this is something too that I always pondered after hearing Bill say to, I believe it was can't remember the guy's name. He was the expert for the surveys, the survey expert.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
He got upset with the survey expert about
that dude,
Brian
right.
allegedly stalking, about
Mhm.
Brian stalking, and that didn't happen. And people are like, oh yeah, see, he wasn't stalking anybody. Okay. If he wasn't
Right.
stalking anybody, but they are still claiming that in some way, shape, or form, he was watching someone in that house. Do you get what I'm saying? He is connected somehow to that house, is what the state is claiming.
Yes.
They're not saying he was stalking anybody. So, and you have the implications of Bethany and all of this stuff. There is a report of a female prior going to Brian out of concern asking, can you please install cameras in my house?
Mhm.
She felt comfortable enough to go to him. She felt safe enough to go to him. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there as a thought. It's just something that has been a thought in my brain. If he does know her, if he does know Bethany, is there a chance Bethany may have asked him to put cameras in the house, maybe that people didn't know about? Was there some kind of surveillance going on, but not in the way that people think?
I don't know, because what the media, because this we heard from the media, obviously, this information that
Like, it doesn't
about,
have to be a stalking situation. Like, what if she felt like she was in danger?
yeah, no, what I'm saying is
Right.
the media made it out to be somebody from Pullman, like somebody who went to school with him or something like that,
Hmm.
is how I understood that. So it didn't really
I
have anything.
thought this was someone at DeSales when he was at DeSales University.
No, I think it was in Pullman. It was when he lived there, is how it came across to me. Now
Well,
I
I'm just saying. Now, we don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying
No,
it
we
is a
don't.
report
Yeah.
that came out. And if that report is true, that there were, there's now, on record, a female who felt safe enough to go to him. She thought that maybe she was in some, I'm just throwing it out there.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of like what evidentiary value on his television. What if he did, hear me out. Like, what if he knows Bethany? What if Bethany felt she was in some kind of danger? What if she asked him to put recording devices in her room? What if her room was on the 3rd floor? What if he could watch those cameras from his own television?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, because the report that came out from media said that this was not someone. I mean, they were claiming he was somebody from his school at WSU.
Well, I understand that. They're saying it's someone from WSU. I'm
Yeah.
talking about a separate incident where if Bethany
Yeah.
went to, I'm not saying Bethany is that person
Okay.
from the report that they're claiming.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that if the two of them know each other and
Yeah.
she felt she was in some kind of danger, is it possible she asked him to put a camera in her room?
Mm.
Is it possible that she, contacted him that morning, had some kind of communication with him that morning about what was going on in the house?
Who
Is
knows?
that how Kane
Who
got to him so early by
Yeah.
reading through Tiffany's text messages and seeing she is communicating with this Brian person in Pullman?
Mm. That I don't know. I mean,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
theory. It's a theory. Let me tell you my theory
That's
on
just my thoughts. It's just me spitting out my thoughts in my brain.
Yeah. My theory on Kaylee's phone, because Kaylee's phone never got turned back to the family. So
Right.
remember that recording that they say that they had somebody recorded. They said in the PCA, I think it states that it came from a
Yeah,
neighboring
video of a
camera.
suspect video.
Yes. What if Kaylee turned on? What if the recording was inside the house
Right.
and not outside the house? Like
If
she
I
heard
remember correctly, it
a
was
scuffle, and that's why that phone either was taken by the perp or perpetrators, or the police will just not hand it back because of that evidence.
I thought they said though that the video of the suspect video, didn't that come from the forensic downloads of Bethany and Dylan's phones?
No, the actual recording of like the thud, the this and that, and the dog
Sorry,
bark. Bye, Rory. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Roar. Love you,
All right,
bro.
All right, take care.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good one, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm specifically talking about the what was captured as from a neighboring. They stated somehow in the PCA from a neighboring camera.
The camera 50 feet away.
Yes,
That
correct.
picked up the whimper and the thud.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is because Kaylee's phone never was turned in back to the family, right? They never got the phone back.
Yeah,
So
that's
either it was taken or it has
was
something
taken.
recorded on it that had evidential value. So if you talk about the television, we need to bring up the phone as well because that's in the same, same vein, basically.
Yeah, I mean, if she's being attacked, she could have hit record real quick or something,
Well, I mean,
and that could be on the
honestly,
phone.
it could have been before. Like she heard noises,
You're right.
turns
You're
on the
right.
phone and records it. Now, according to them,
Yep.
she turned off her phone completely, went off the network at what time?
Yeah, which is strange. That doesn't happen, and why would she do that?
Why would she
That
turn
doesn't
off
even
her phone? But
that
It's
when
going to be
doesn't make sense.
interesting. I think it's going to be interesting when we hear Cy, if we ever hear Cy give like full testimony. It's going to be interesting to see how many phones actually went off network at the same time.
okay.
Yeah, because check this out. Like JB said up there, I think it was taken. Kaylee's phone went offline at 2:56. What time?
Yeah.
What time did Brian's phone go off?
58
Think
or
about it.
was it 2 minutes after?
Right around 2:56.
Was it 2:56 or 2:58?
Yeah, within a
Right
couple
around
of
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you
within a
also
couple
have,
minutes.
yeah, within a couple minutes,
Yeah.
and then you also have Maddie's phone. So like they're trying to make it sound like Maddie and Kaylee's phone are just never utilized again at the same time. Like, oh, they just went to sleep. And then in the next paragraph, they're like, oh, well, she was awake playing with the dog. Well, then she wasn't asleep.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but if she
But
utilized,
then
is that utilizing the phone when you
irrelevant.
record? Correct. But do you utilize the phone? You're not going online. You're not doing anything like that. When you hit record, that doesn't like activate your Wi-Fi or your network connection or anything like that. It
Mhm.
just plainly records.
Right.
No, I think Pebbles is right there. It was no 2:48 was when. Is that when he left? What time did he leave his house? Because it was sure it was after that.
Yeah, like his phone stopped reporting to the network. Michigel says 2:52. So it is like
Yeah,
a few
it was
minutes
close.
apart.
It's like really close, and that makes you wonder about all kinds of things,
Yeah.
Well, if you want my honest opinion, I've always been under the impression that the phones being used to call Jack weren't the girls at all.
Well, according to the PCA, it was,
No,
Right,
I'm
right.
just saying
Yeah.
they're saying the girls are calling Jack repeatedly. I
Yeah.
don't believe it was them at all.
Okay. Okay.
I
Well,
think
yeah,
they
it
were
wasn't them. I don't
they
think.
were already dead, and Jack knew
I think
exactly.
somebody was
That's
calling.
just my opinion. That's totally my opinion.
Yeah.
He ignored the
He's
calls
calling
on
his own. He's
He was
calling his own phone. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he knew
Yeah.
exactly who was calling him, and that's exactly why he ignored those calls. And it wasn't the girls. He
Oh.
knew it wasn't them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
well, that's different. Yeah,
Mhm.
that could be too. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's a
just
good
find it
one.
like
Penny,
the television and the phone, and it's just one of those things that, like, not me, but at least Anne can get some answers on those two things as well. Like what happened to Kaylee's phone.
Right.
Yeah, well, I remember there was that warrant for the Coeur d'Alene forensics lab, and I always wondered if that's maybe somehow where her phone ended up. Somehow, some way, I'm not exactly sure how, what scenario would occur that her phone would have been moved from the crime scene to Coeur d'Alene.
Mm.
But I can think of like one or two scenarios where that might occur. So I've
Yeah.
always wondered if that's what the warrant was for, because somehow her phone and or laptop ended up back in Coeur d'Alene.
Pebble says it was for her laptop.
Yeah.
That the laptop ended up in Coeur d'Alene, but they never bring up the phone. Only the Gonzalez family brings up the phone. That it like I think he looked up what times were the last phone calls and all that. So we got that data from the Gonzalez family. And because, of course, they got a family plan and they could see who she called and what time, right? I don't know what kind of access he had to Maddie's phone to be able to tell that, but he could have maybe
I do
accessed
know.
Maddie's phone. I don't
I
know.
mean, he said in the beginning, he admitted outright, like on a Fox News interview, that he helped, that he broke into, his quote is broke into the phones, plural.
Yeah, yeah.
He helped. So he broke into these phones for law enforcement, according to him,
Mhm.
which, okay, all right, odd, but sure.
Mhm.
That's why I just sit back and I just take it all in, and I'm sorry, but there's just, you know, people that
And
have
when
to
he
agree.
says that broke into the phones, like into like their Apple account, and because
I don't know what he meant.
not
I have
not
no
the
idea what he
physical
meant.
phone, because he never mentioned them getting back the physical phone. So I wonder if that's something, like if he actually had held the phone in his hand and broke it that way, or if it was like if they had iPhones, it was to
Mm,
their iPhone accounts, right?
right. I don't know.
So
I'm
yeah.
just saying. It seems odd to me that, you know, he's talking about breaking into phones, plural,
Hmm.
for law enforcement.
Correct.
We find out like over a year later that he had to visit an urgent care early that morning, which is just wild to me that that has never, ever,
Who was
ever
that?
been
Who was that? Who was that? Who's that, Annie?
Steve.
Where did
Steve?
you hear that he visited an urgent care that morning?
Christy.
Yeah.
Christy said it in a interview that they recently did, where she was talking about like that morning how
Hmm.
he for shingles, he had a flare up from shingles and had to go
Oh,
to urgent care early that morning.
on a Sunday. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, at this point, I literally don't care what anybody thinks. I'm allowed to have my opinions. I've never trusted him. It is my opinion that I believe he has been covering since the beginning, covering for potentially his own involvement, her involvement, other people's involvement that he might be connected to. That is just my opinion.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, he would do everything to cover for his daughter for for sure. You know, he wants
Yeah,
to
I think that's what,
keep her,
if anything, that's
any
what you'd be
parent would
covering
do that.
for.
Yeah. So that I can understand. Definitely.
Well, it
Yeah.
just makes me wonder if, because I've always wondered if he went down that morning. Like
To the house.
I know they say they didn't, but
Yeah.
if the rumors are true that people knew at like 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm under the impression he knew. They would have been getting calls very early. They knew early. Part of me wonders if he went down. Part of me wonders if you have an 8 hour delay because parents are showing up. Parents are possibly potentially removing things from the scene that would implicate their children or whatever the case may be. I've always wondered if that is like a potential scenario where other family members knew very early and showed up.
Mm.
And then that it would make sense why you have this very long delay. And it would make sense why Ethan's brother and sister are there as well.
Mm.
Because who called them there? I doubt highly that Maisie and Hunter are going to be told there's a problem and they're not going to immediately notify their parents.
Mm.
Same with whatever was going on with Kaylee, whatever was going on with Maddie. Like, I have, if the rumors are true and people knew very early by like 8 in the morning, well, then the families knew very early. Part of me wonders if they went there. If some people went there, if some people, I don't know.
Unless
It's
they
always
were
weird
too,
to me,
yeah.
though.
Unless they were too afraid of reaching out to the family in that situation. They were like, I don't know how to, convey something like that.
Well,
So
somebody called Ethan and Maisie to that house.
that's that's sort of rumored though, right? That's
No, because their car was there. Their car was part of the crime scene and it was towed with the rest of the vehicles.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right. Okay.
So somebody told Hunter and Maisie
Mhm.
to get over to that house.
Mhm. But that
And
was before the police got there, is what you're saying, correct?
exactly, they
Yeah.
were there before
Yeah.
911 was
Mhm.
even called.
Mhm.
So now a lot of people will say, oh, well, they were only called, they got there just minutes before the police. Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know
For
exactly.
all we know, they were
No,
there for
no.
hours before
Yeah.
911 was called.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Ford
I-
Explorer, the black Ford Explorer belonged to the Chapins,
Mhm.
and it was pulled in behind Ethan's red Jeep.
Mhm. What were you saying, Tommy?
Well, I kind of think that because I don't believe that Bethany and Dylan were even home until like 11:30 in the morning or something. I really don't. I don't think they were there.
Mm.
I mean, it's just a bunch of crap. And that's just my opinion. You know, but
Oh, that's
I just
totally
think
fine.
they're
I
there.
just wondered if maybe Steve went down, if he knew early, if they all knew early and he took a ride down there, you
Mm.
know? Or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like it's very odd to me that a year and a half later you happen to mention in an interview a very, in my opinion, what is a very critical detail. I'm sorry, but like you went to an urgent care at the crack of dawn on a Sunday morning, and this
Right.
happened
Well,
pretty early on a Sunday morning. Now, I'm not saying that means he's involved. What I am saying is that I feel like that you would have mentioned it if it wasn't a
Well,
big deal. But
they
you
would
hid
have
that
probably
detail
mentioned
for
it.
over a year.
They probably would have mentioned it in like all the interviews they gave in the beginning.
This is what I'm saying. Like you hid that detail for over a year.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
well, they're hiding a lot of stuff. You know, I mean,
I
it
don't
looked
know.
like Dylan jumping into that black truck too. You know, and
Mm.
it sure looked like her. Somebody with a girl with long hair and tall, and who else fits that stature? And that black truck left at 4:23. What time did that black truck get back home? Drop off Dylan. I don't think she
Maybe
was
I
there.
don't know.
I
I don't
really
know.
don't.
I don't know. I mean, that could be why the defense is really not worried about her because she wasn't even there and they can prove it
She
somehow. I
wasn't even
don't
there.
know. That I don't
Yeah,
know.
well,
But
yeah, I'm
Bethany
sure they
seems
can
like
prove
she
it.
knows more, meaning she must have been around the house somehow.
Oh, she's a material witness.
Serial wit
1000%
yeah,
she
so
was there.
that's more likely that she was.
Yes. Oh, there's no doubt about it. That's
Yeah,
something everybody can definitely bet money on. Bethany was
yeah.
in that house when that crime was occurring.
Mhm.
And furthermore, you know, what she saw and what she heard is unique to her.
Her experience, correct. So, and
But it doesn't
also,
say where. It doesn't say where.
well, I
I'm
mean,
telling you,
It doesn't
I
say
think partly
where.
she
I
knows
do
those
believe
words.
she was in that house. Now, as far as Dylan goes, the only reason I would change my mind is like according to here we go again, rumors, unfortunately, is that the two girls communicated during the commission of the crime. The only reason I believe that rumor is because that the actual time of when this occurred, the police or in the PCA it does state that they got everything from the surviving roommates' phones, which means there
Mm.
must have been something on those phones between the two girls at that time. So that's the only reason I'm thinking Dylan was there. You know
And the
And
reason, one of the reasons I think
that
maybe
they
not is
communicated
because
with each other.
I think one of the things that they say exculpatory evidence, and she's got exculpatory evidence with Bethany. Well,
Mhm.
the biggest thing would be Dylan wasn't even frickin' home to make that statement to the police.
Yeah, I mean, they could have been
You know
communicating
what I
via
mean?
text. Yeah, I mean, they could have been communicating
Yeah, they could
via
have been
text.
texting from
Yeah, yeah,
anywhere.
like,
Right.
but that something happened because they did download the two phones to determine, when that crime was committed. So I
Right.
don't know. That's the only thing that would keep me thinking Dylan was there to a certain extent. Maybe she left after. I don't know. Maybe she like like a bat out of hell. She left at 4:20 something, like you say. I don't know.
Right.
Well, see, I look at it as, think about the source where we heard that the two of them were allegedly texting each other. This allegedly came from someone within grand jury.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and it's coming from Steve.
Well, but I told you the only reason I
Yeah.
semi believe it is because of what was in the PCA. What was stated in the PCA is that, you know, the timeline of the crime was determined by the surviving roommates' phones.
Right.
So that makes me believe that there was some kind of communication, that they heard something, obviously. The two
I've
phones.
never in my life ever. And you know, I've looked at a lot of cases. This is not the only case. You know, I've been a true crime freaking nerd for a long time. I've never heard of an investigation where these survivors' phones are used to determine the time of the crime.
Mhm.
It's usually the victims.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But
So-
that wouldn't be able, they wouldn't be able to use that because it stopped, you know,
Yeah,
the
stop
victim's
at
phone
258 or whatever
way
it was,
earlier, right? So they couldn't do that to get
Well,
Brian.
you know, but not really, because they don't want us to know that, because I believe that's when it all started going down at the house, was when them phones went off. Those phones went off. That's when shit was going down. And they were trying to, I think, you know what I mean? They were trying to, I think they were trying to call Jack, and Jack showed up. That's my opinion.
Now, if we do believe what the police stated in the beginning as the time of when this happened, it was between 3 and 4 o'clock.
Well, first they said 2 and 3. Then they
2 and
said 3 and
3,
4.
yeah.
Then it went to
So-
4 to 25 in the PCA.
So
Yeah.
basically, they still, and I say this over and over again, and I hope it doesn't come across weirdly, but basically, we're still talking about the same evidence, i.e., the surviving roommates' phones. That did not change
Right.
after the fact. So we still, like, the timeline was still determined the same way, but we changed the timeline. And how is that freaking possible? Is my
Right.
question. It's my only
Yeah.
question in this. They couldn't change their phones after the fact when they communicated. So
Right.
I don't get that.
So why'd they start at 2 to 3, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And then
Well,
3 to
even
4.
like mental health data. So even if you don't have like you don't even have to have it on. Your accelerometer is going to track all of your steps no matter what. It's gonna know like how many flights of stairs you went up and down and things like that. You know,
And what time is it really? With
this is what I mean. If
John
you
and
have-
Ethan, were they home at 1 o'clock or were they home at 1:45?
Well, according to her dad, was it her dad she called and said she was home eating pizza all night? Or she was home at midnight or something like that. Yeah. So
but there's an hour.
I
There's
can
a
see
1
Zana telling a little fib there, maybe, you know, to the dad to make, you know, to have him feel a little better.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to do that to my parents. Just to
We all
make them
did
feel
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally have always been under the impression, this is just my personal opinion, that when Kaylee and Maddie got home, Ethan and Xana were already dead.
Mm.
And I know people are like, yeah, but no, she was using her phone. Okay, there's no proof that it was her using the phone.
No, there isn't.
No.
Her phone was used, that doesn't mean it was her using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you want to, that's been known, you know, there are plenty
It
of
was already done by
murder
then.
cases
It was already-
where when someone, you know, kills their wife, what do? Well, they start texting the wife and they text back and they try to make it look like the
Yeah.
person is still alive.
How
when they're
many
not.
cases? Yeah, I could go on YouTube right now and find 10 cases within an hour that has
Right.
that same
That's what I
exact thing.
mean. When you
Yeah.
want to try and deviate a timeline,
And
and you're trying to intentionally deviate a timeline, the best thing to do is try to make it look like your victims were still alive long after they weren't.
well, there was a
Exactly.
medical examiner involved in all this too that can determine a timeline. as
Agreed.
well, right? So
Agreed. The MA can
2 to 3,
conclude
3 to
down to
4.
an approximation, though.
Exactly. But an approximation within like, I don't know how long. Like I really don't know these things. I don't even want to
It's
guess.
based on
But
stages of like rigor mortis, liver mortis,
correct.
right? So the ME
Yeah.
is going, what if each victim had a different stage of rigor?
So, but if you
So
take it from 2 a.m. to like 4:23 a.m. or whatever is in the PCA, that's a long period of time. So is that like an incompetent medical examiner who couldn't say like between 2 and 4:20 whatever?
Well, see, that's the thing though. You have to remember the time that's given in the probable cause affidavit by Payne for the time of this crime, which is allegedly when they were killed, is not based on the medical examiner's determination of when they died. It's literally based on the phones of the survivors.
That and Brian Kohlberger and his movement.
But what I mean is that we don't know what the medical examiner determined. None of that. That's
No,
all.
but that's speculation, exactly. But what I'm saying is the phone didn't change since they got it day one from the surviving roommates. So when they tell you between 2 and 3, then they change it to 3 and 4, the phone stayed the same, the medical examiner stayed the same. I mean, they probably got information from the medical examiner pretty like 2-3 weeks after, right?
Well, we don't know because the 3 officers who Anne is questioning the training of and wants the records for were present at these autopsies and didn't document any of it.
Correct. That's very convenient.
So the only way that the defense is going to know for sure what the medical examiner concluded that would be exculpatory to Brian is if you have certain victims who were deceased long before the state is claiming they were.
Yeah.
If you have a medical examiner determining that 2 of these victims had been deceased for 3 to 4 to 5 hours before the others, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That throws a wrench in the state's case.
Correct.
And you would definitely not want the medical examiner's findings getting out at that point. You certainly would want that sealed.
Correct. All right, just one last question before we go. And Tommy has to go as well. There was here, do we know what time the internet went down that night? Oh, I used to know, but I, for the life of me, can't remember now exactly what time that was.
Isn't it at the same time the phones went down?
Well, that was like, yeah, it was very convenently. It went down at like 2 a.m. or something like that.
Just
I don't
like
wanna.
the lights in the lane conveniently went down too.
And he came back like,
In the parking lot.
Allegedly, the campus had an issue
mhm,
where it was down for some kind of software maintenance. I believe it was from 8 the day before to 8 the following, something like that. It may have been like noon to noon, something like that.
I can't remember exactly what time
But
that
do
was.
you remember when like all the news crews were there? I believe it was like day 1, it was nighttime, maybe it was day 2 when the forensics teams were all up inside the house and the news crews were outside. And they were trying to like see what the forensic investigators were doing inside
Mhm.
the home and all of that.
Mhm.
Do you remember all that?
I do, yeah.
I believe that's when like if I remember correctly, isn't that also when they did the drone footage? Was that next day?
I could not tell you either what
I
day
think
that was.
a drone went through it on the 13th. That later in the afternoon or early evening or something. But no, it was like later afternoon because it was still light out.
Yeah, it was still light out, but I wonder if it was day
Yeah.
2 though. If it wasn't on that Monday.
It might have been. it was sold on YouTube as that day, but yeah.
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 But that would because they didn't like. I think they weren't notified. They didn't get there until like it was almost dusky outside, like it was starting to get dark.
Mm.
Is when the news crews showed up. The first news cruise was like it was very dawn type of day, so that would have been too late almost to fly a drone. So I think that was
Right.
the day after, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Anyway, this
Yeah.
will leave for next stream. And
Right.
I want to thank Rory. I want to thank Tommy. I want to thank Annie. Thank you,
Yep.
thank you, thank you, everybody.
Good
for the
seeing you again,
opportunity.
Annie, and thank you, Golf, for having me on.
Yeah, Annie is fantastic to have. And Annie, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to our show that we're gonna do
good
here
panelist.
shortly.
Good panelist.
Go and subscribe. I would say go and subscribe to Annie too, but she doesn't have a channel yet. But Tommy
Right.
definitely does. So go and
Well,
subscribe
the
to
channel,
Tommy.
the
Yes,
channel
please
has
do.
nothing to do with true crime, so nobody probably wants to watch it anyway.
Well, why not? Why not?
It has
So
nothing to do with what we discuss.
anyway, go and subscribe to Tommy. Can we put Tommy's Tommy, you can put your link out there.
I don't think. Oh, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And you're an
once upon a crime time.
yeah. You can
Once upon
search
a
it by
crime time.
Tommy Jude as
You can
well,
find
and
it.
you get there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And of
yeah,
course
you can
Rory's
find it.
channel. Oh, Annie jumped off. And of course Rory's channel is
Yeah, thou shalt not
Thou
kill
shalt
true
not
crime.
kill, yeah, true crime as well. So
Yeah.
thank you everybody and have a good night. And
All
I
right.
appreciate all of you
Love you
jumping
guys.
on. Good night.
Love your
Good night.
family. Yeah.
Bye.
Night.
Bye everybody.